Okay, we have Alabama head coach Nate Oats. Alabama locker room is still open. We have about 12 minutes left on open locker room for Alabama. We will start with an opening statement from Coach. First of all, welcome. Welcome to Newark, Coach. We'll start with an opening statement, and then we'll go to questions. Once again, just raise your hand. We'll get a microphone to you. Name and affiliation before asking your question. So, Coach?
Great to be here. Appreciate it. It's good to be here in New Jersey, New York area. We've got a few players on our team from here. Nas Cunningham's redshirting from right here in New Jersey. I think Cliff lived here for about 8 years. And Mo Diabate from right across the river in New York's playing some really good basketball for us. Good to catch up with Javon Quinterly, who one of the better players come out of New Jersey here recently that won a lot of games for us in Alabama. So it's good to be here. It's good to be back in the Sweet 16. It's not easy to get here. We're fortunate to be here. We've got a really tough game in front of us in BYU. You know, a lot of respect for what Kevin's done in year one there, getting them playing one of the more modern styles of basketball and all of college basketball. You know, he was NBA assistant for a long time. I know him a little bit, been to some Suns training camps when he was an assistant. I think they've done a really good job. I think since maybe February 12th, I think we looked up, they got the #1 offense in the country. So, and they play in a good league in the Big 12 with some really good defensive teams. So to do that, they got to know what they're doing. They're playing well. Richie Saunders has been playing really good basketball for the last month and a half, I think. Double figures in 11 straight games and shooting over 50% from the field, 43 from three. Doesn't miss much at the free throw line. Like, he's obviously really good. He's having a great tournament. So we're going to have to do a great job on him, but they've got a lot of other players too. They got shooters. They've got, their bigs play really hard. The whole team gets on the old boards well. So there's a lot going. Our defense is going to have to be elite, but our offense also going to have to be really good too. So we've got some guys playing well on the offensive end. LeBaron's leading the entire tournament, assist turnover ratio. He's played really well for us on offense. We need him to be elite on both sides of the ball for us. Cliff's, scoring it well, shooting 87% from the field, averaging 14 and 8 with 2 blocks. And then Mo Diabate, kind of two of our New Jersey, New York guys, and Cliff and Mo playing well for us. Mo's leading the tournament in three-point percentage. He hasn't missed yet. He's 4-4. He's been putting a lot of work in. It's good to see the work paying off on his shot. He's rebounding it well. He's averaging 14 and 8, and somewhere to Cliff and shooting 80% from the field. So, hopefully we continue to play well on offense, but our defense is going to have to be at an elite level with BYU. They're good in transition. They're good in the half court. They're good on the boards. They're pretty much good at everything. They're great in pick and rolls. So our defense is going to get tested against these guys on Thursday.
We'll start here in the front.
Thanks. Hey, Coach. Eddie Pels from AP. You probably heard that all 16 teams in the tournament still are Power 4 schools, and I was wondering, you used to coach Cinderella. Do you think that this year is kind of the future or a one-off?
It's a good question. When I was at Buffalo, we won a couple tournament games. We never made it to the Sweet 16, though. I mean, it's hard. You kind of, at that level, you got to upset two teams, really, to get where you're at. Or, my last year at Buffalo, we were 6th seed. Won our first game as over an 11, and then you got that was the year we ended up playing Texas Tech with Beard when they went to championship. It's hard. So I don't know there's still obviously room for upsets. They've had upsets in the tournament. You're going to have upsets every year. My guess would be you're still going to have some upsets, but, I did see somebody made the point, like anybody that gets really good at mid-major level, it seems like there's just a lot more rev share, NIL, money up at the higher levels. It's going to be harder I don't know that I would have been able to keep my whole team together at Buffalo in today's day and age. So, but you do have, I will say this though, the other side of that is a lot of these high major teams are going not all in, but a lot more in on the transfers with the portal, which means there's a lot of freshmen that are not getting offered at the high major level that would have used to get offered that now are ending up at a mid-major school, and some of them are really good. So those mid-major schools that they're going to have to do a really good job evaluating talent coming out of high school, then you're just going to have to do it, with some younger guys, I think. And I think it's still going to be done, but it might be a little bit harder. I think you'll still see some Cinderellas coming through, but I haven't put a lot of time into that. I've got a really good offensive team in BYU. I've had to put a lot of time in, so that's my 2 cents on something I haven't thought too much about.
We'll stay here in the front row. These are the next two.
Rich Harris, Hoops Prospects. Coach, I got one quick one for you. Are Cliff and Grant healthy?
Yeah, for the most part. I mean, I talked to Grant. He says he's at 90%, but then his point was, I've been at 90% most of the year. I mean, I don't know who is 100% at this point of the year. So Cliff's for sure healthy. Grant's pretty healthy. I mean, not 100%, but close enough. So, we've got everybody about as close to 100 as you're going to be able to get at this point of the year. And, Grant's probably the furthest from that, but like he made the point to me, he hasn't been better than 90 for the last month or two. So I think we'll have our full roster available for us to play this game.
Nick, if I could follow up, you talked about defense in your intro, and I asked the guys this. It appeared to me last year in the tournament, once you guys got in, there was a lot of talk about your defense, and then it seemed like you guys took it up another level. Do you feel the same thing happening this year?
I'd appreciate it if you guys put a lot more talk out there about our defense isn't good enough to win this game, so that we could show our guys that nobody believes in them like last year. So, yeah, I mean, our defense wasn't any good last year. I think we weren't even in the top 100 on defense. So it was pretty easy to show our guys that our defense isn't good enough. We struggled there at the end of the year. They finally got the guys to wake up after we lost the first round of the SEC tournament. They lost, at the end of the regular season. I think this year our defense is significantly better. It's still not where we'd like it to be, and it's going to have to get significantly better to make another Final Four run, because the next two teams we play, if we're fortunate to even have a second game, BYU's got the number one offense in the country, I think since February 12th or something like that, and then Duke and Arizona are two of the best offenses in the country as well. So you've got four of the better offenses in the country. I think all four of us are top 25 in the country in scoring, and look at efficiency metrics and stuff. You got four really good offenses in this region. So for those people that like watching good offensive basketball, you got four good teams here. I think a lot of who's going to come out of here is going to be who plays the best defense. And, some of these other teams have had better defensive, stretches than maybe we've had. I think we've got to get our guys' attention, which we have, and we're capable of being a great defensive team, and that's what we're going to have to do over these, next couple days if we're going to get out of this 14 bracket here.
We'll stay in the front row on the end.
Nate Oats, welcome to Newark. There's 7 SEC teams in the Sweet 16. Can you just talk about how the league prepared you and the other teams to get here? And will it be a failure if an SEC team does not cut down the nets in San Antonio?
Yeah, so the SEC was obviously the best league in the country this year, kind of established early in November, kind of kept it up throughout the year. And for those that question whether they could make a tournament run, we've got 7 teams here left. So, the teams we played throughout the course of January, February, early March were really good. You look at our last 7 games in the regular season, nobody played a 7-game stretch anywhere close to that throughout the country at any point during the year. So, I think that stretch, as long as you're able to keep your guys mentally engaged, we went 3-4 in that stretch, with one of the wins being at number 1 Auburn. We lost on a buzzer beater at Tennessee. Lost to Florida, who's a number 1 seed. You look at some of the teams we played. So Auburn's number 1 overall seed. Florida's a 1 seed. Tennessee's a 2 seed. There's some very good teams in our league that I think prepped us for it. I think a lot of really good coaches in our league. When you got to go against these coaches every night, you get sharpened up. When your players got to go against best players in the country on a night in, night out basis. They're used to having to bring it every night. So I think that the league prepared all of us. You saw different styles. I mean, you look at the teams that have made it. Tennessee's different than Auburn. It's different than Kentucky. It's different than Ole Miss. We're different than all of them. So I think you get used to playing different styles. You know, BYU's really good. Kentucky, similar but different than BYU. So I think, you know, we were able to play Kentucky 3 times. But BYU does it different than them. They're similar, and they both are 5 out. But I think, you know, BYU plays a little faster, and they got different personnel, obviously. So I think it got us ready. Would it be a failure if one of them didn't cut down the nets? I mean, in a one-game elimination tournament, there's a lot of variance goes into that. You know, I don't want to call it a failure. I think it's been an unbelievably successful season. You know, we could end up with 6 out of the last 8 teams if things go great. You know, we will guaranteed at least one in the Elite 8. But no matter what happens from here, I think we've had an unbelievably successful season. We need to try to keep our league at the level it is. Obviously, it's going to take a lot of work, and administrations, coaches, everybody's going to have to continue to put the resources that are needed into basketball. So, you know, hopefully one of the SEC teams cuts down the nets, because we're one of them, and I'm hoping we cut it down. But if it's not one, I still think it's a pretty good year for us.
We're going to stay on this side, row 4, end of row 4.
Emily Smart, Tuscaloosa News. Hey, Coach. Has Houston Millette traveled with the team during the NCAA tournament?
Yeah, Houston's with us now. So Houston had a non-basketball related injury that kept him at home. He was unable to travel with us for the first 2 rounds. He's back with us now. We got him, you know, we came right here from Cleveland. So we got here Monday. He got here Monday as well. He took a commercial flight. He's one of the best kids I've ever coached in my life. I want him with the program. He wanted to be with us. He just, health-wise, wasn't able to make the first 2 rounds with us. He's back with us. He'll be on the bench with us. You know, he's obviously not playing. He's redshirting this year, but he's back with the program. Thanks.
We got
for
time
asking.
for one more question. We're going to go in the row 4.
Michael Cohen, Fox Sports. Nate, across the 4 teams here in the regional, there's about a dozen or so kids born outside the United States that are either starters or key contributors. BYU obviously has a handful of those. When you look at the influx of international players, where do you see them influencing sort of the schematics of basketball most at the collegiate level in the last few seasons?
Yeah, I think, do all 4 starting centers born outside the, I believe Duke's, ours, the BYU's starting centers too is Arizona's. I'm not, that's the one. Oh, he was injured. Yeah. So, and then obviously BYU's got them in, and you know, there's, I mean, I'm going to miss some if I go through it. I'm more focused on BYU now. Look, I think with the different NBA academies throughout the world that they've started, there's some, and shoot, you've seen the European influence for probably 20 plus years now. It's trickled down the NBA down into our level. Very good players all over the world. You know, with the NBA allowing now the rev share and the NIL, you're gonna probably see even more, in my opinion, because financially they'll be able to come over here instead of staying at a club team over in Europe or wherever it may be. So, you know, Cliff's been great for us. You know, we've had guys here in the past, and we'll continue to recruit overseas. We don't have as many as some of the other teams, but, you know, you look at a guy like Demon. I mean, we've recruited some overseas guys and haven't got too many, but shoot, he's a 6'8" point guard that sees over everything. That's probably going to be a lottery pick, and if you can get a guy like that in your program, it makes a lot of sense. So I think go find the best basketball players that are eligible to play in college basketball wherever they may be across the world. Put together the best draft you can every year. That's where college basketball's gotten, and I think it's going to lead people to Europe, Africa, wherever it may be in the world, to put together the best team they can.
Okay, Coach, we appreciate you taking the time. Thank you.
Thanks. Appreciate you guys.